The power of your words are very important when you are waiting on your harvest. When you have planted into the soil of your life, whether it be in your finances, whether it be in love, whether it be in your career, when you have planted seeds and you are waiting for those seeds to spring forth, your words are not just tools for manifestation, but your words are very important to the protection of what you have planted while it is moving through various phases of growth. The harvest that you are waiting on, some of you are waiting patiently. Some of us may sometimes even wait a little impatiently because growth, as we know, can be a slow process. But your words that you speak about what you have planted, about what you are expecting in return, are a tool of protection while you are waiting on the harvest, right? When we plant into the soils of our lives, things have to go through the processes of growth. And in those processes of growth, whatever we have planted is in a very fragile, very vulnerable, very tender state. You understand? It's like when you plant, let's say, a flower or a tree, right? And you plant into the ground and the tree begins to sprout and the tree begins to come forth and it begins to spring forth. And in the early stages of that tree, you will find that it may be required of you to fortify the trunk of the tree or the growth of the tree, the stem of the tree. You have to fortify it. You may have to take a wooden stake or a metal pole and tie it up to the new growth of the tree so that while the tree is growing, it doesn't begin to get too heavy. The leaves don't get too heavy. The top of the tree doesn't get too heavy while the stem of the tree or the trunk of the tree is still very young and tender. The roots are still very young and tender. And so sometimes you will see people who plant, they will take a wooden stake and they will tie it to the tree while it is growing to keep it strong so that it will grow upright, so it won't begin to lean over and bend and it could break, right? And so when we're manifesting our harvest and we have planted seeds and we begin to see growth come up through the topsoil of our lives, so to speak, our words are like those wooden stakes. What we say about what we are expecting, what we say about what we have planted, what we speak when we are in conversations with other people, when we are in conversations with ourselves, even when nobody else is around. If you allow the slow process of growth to frustrate you, to cause you to despise small beginnings, you will begin to speak death on the very thing that you are expecting life in. See, this is the hidden power of the scripture that says life and death is in the power of the tongue. You have the power in your tongue to either kill what you have planted before you can actually reap the harvest. And you also have the power in your tongue to speak the necessary nutrients of life that the plant needs in order for it to move towards the more stronger phases of growth and therefore yield you the fruit that you are wanting to see. See, your tongue is like the decision that a planter has to make as to whether he or she is going to put a stake in the ground and strengthen the new growth of the plant, or whether you're going to just let it grow on its own and hope that it doesn't break, right? Manifestation is understanding the process of planting. Manifestation is understanding the process of seed time and harvest. It's knowing how to make the proper decisions as to how to provide the proper nutrients, the proper water. You may have to add a little fertilizer. It's about knowing how to do these do these things in a metaphysical way, not so much in a physical way like a farmer or a planter would do, but it is taking the same skill set and applying it to the spiritual manifestations of your life. A lot of us right now are waiting on a harvest. A lot of us have planted seeds in seasons past, and we are waiting on that harvest. But it's imperative that while we are waiting, that we use the words, we use our words in a way that further empowers the growth, the yield, the return on that seed that we have planted. We use our words to speak life. This could be words that you speak in your private times of your manifestation rituals, but this could also be words that you speak in every conversation that you have about what you have planted. Now, there's going to be a season where when you make the choice to plant into the soil of your life, you're not going to speak about it at all, right? This is when that seed is a thought seed. When you have a thought seed of moving into a new city or expanding yourself in, or moving out of even the country, when you have a thought to apply for a particular job or go for the promotion, when you have a thought of a business idea that you want to start, when you begin to think about someone being potentially a love partner, you may not speak on it at all because it is but a thought. I advise you actually to not speak on it when you are dealing with a thought seed. But when that thought becomes something that you begin to take action on, and you actually plant that thought into the soil of your life, you may have to start talking about it. You may have to start sharing it with people, it's particularly if it's a business, particularly if it's a job or a promotion or something that is manifested in a tangible, practical way in your physical reality, right? You're gonna have to start talking about it. You know, in the beginning, your mum's the words. You're not saying much. You're not sharing much. It's just an idea. But as you begin to move upon that idea, it is by nature that you're going to find yourself in conversations about what you're doing next, what you're doing now, what you're expecting to take place as you begin to plant that thought seed into the soil of your life. People are going to start seeing the shoots and the seedlings and the leaves and the vegetation of that idea begin to spring forth. You're going to go off and you're going to make business cards, and the business cards are going to come in the mail, and you're going to begin to pass them out. You're going to throw up your social media accounts. You're going to begin to share it and build and network and socialize this idea. You're going to share that you got the new promotion or that you're going for the new promotion on the job. You're going to go down to the church house and you're going to ask the church to pray that you get the new job, to pray with you that you get that promotion. You're going to call your mom and explain to her that you have been readying yourself and preparing yourself to move to a new city. People are going to begin to know that you're making moves. And when people begin to know that you're making moves, when that thought begins to manifest in a practical, physical way, you're going to find yourself in conversations, whether this is with yourself or with others. You're going to find yourself talking about it. And this is the point where you have to be very conscientious of what you say about what you are expecting. This is the point where you have to guard your conversation. You have to make sure you're not entertaining anyone else who will come into your field and plant seeds that look a lot like the seed you planted, but it's not quite the same. They'll come and spoil your harvest. You have to be careful of what you say and who you say it to. But not only that, you have to be careful of the words of power that other people speak over your field when you are planting, when you are expecting a harvest. So when people come up to you and they say something contrary to what you are expecting, you can't just walk off and let those words linger in the atmosphere. You have to stand right there in that moment and kill that foreign seed. That seed does not belong in my field. Someone will come and say, oh, I don't know if you should do that. I don't know if you can do that. That's going to take a long time. You sure you want to do that? I don't know if you should go way over there. You sure you want to be that far away? You have to shut that down. You have to use your words of power, not just to manifest, but also to protect what you are manifesting. So yes, we do go through seasons of silence, but we also go through seasons where we can be too silent. You're not speaking up enough. You're allowing other people, when you're in conversation, sharing about your expected growth. You're sharing about the moves you're making. You're allowing them to plant in your harvest, because the mind is ultimately your mind is the soil in which you plant. And there's a point where that thought seed, it begins to break through the top soil as it begins to root itself into your root chakra, and you begin to give birth to new stems, new leaves, new growth, new vegetation, new sprouts begin to sprout up. See, those sprouts, those stems, those leaves, that new growth is the physical manifestation that you can see, and not only you, but those around you can see. It is when your thought, the seedling of your thought, begins to spring forth into your physical reality. And when people can start to see what is on your mind, when people can see what is in your mind, because now you have these new leaves, these new stems, these new flowers, you have new buds coming forth. Things are taking place. Situations in your life are starting to spring forth. So now what you have planted in the soil of your mind, in the soil of your reality, in the soil, what you have planted can now be beheld by other people. And they will come and they will try to fertilize your stuff with a whole bunch of unnecessary toxins. They want to come put a little weed killer and a little insect repellent and stuff, and you trying to grow your stuff organically. You have to know when you're in conversations with people and they're trying to kill your harvest before your harvest can even come forth. When they're trying to pervert what you bring forth. They trying to GMO your shit, is what I'm saying. They trying to genetically modify your harvest, and you have to say no, or not so, not no sir, no ma'am. I'm growing mine organically. I don't need your foreign substances. I don't need your foreign grain. I don't need that fertilizer. I don't need that insect repellent. I don't need any of that. I'm growing it organically. I'm going to let it be what it is, because I'm expecting for my harvest to be great. I fertilize my own field. We growing ours all natural over here. You have to use your words not only in times of manifestation, because we often speak about the power that words have to bring forth things, but we don't talk enough about how we need to use our words to protect what we are bringing forth. We entertain the wrong conversations. We say the wrong things out of frustration with the process. We perceive that it's taking too long. And we begin to speak things over our own harvest that we've planted. And we begin to kill the new sprouts. We begin to kill the roots, the shoots, the seedling, the vegetation. Before you can even get to the fruiting stage, you've already spoke over it, because you were impatient with the process of growth. Your words are to be used in this time to protect your harvest. Your words are to be used to protect the seed that you have planted in the soil of your life. As you begin to see it spring forth, as your new business cards come in, you get your new website up. You make a new connection. You get your first client. You get your certification. Whatever it is that you've planted, as it begins to start to spring forth, it is very important that you use your words to begin to water it. There's a point in the growing process where the fruit begins to show up on the tree. And when the fruit begins to show up on the tree, the growing phase is over. It only needs to be watered. And what does that mean? Now that you can see the fruit, now you have to feel the harvest coming in. You have to feel it coming in. You have to feel it springing forth. And you speak words according to the excitement that you feel, the joy that you feel, the pleasure that you feel, that single solitary thought form that you planted a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago is now beginning to bear fruit. You speak from what you feel. You speak from the joy you feel, the celebration. You speak and you water the fruit. You water it because you're preparing to now bring in the harvest. You're now preparing to bring in the harvest. And after you bring in the harvest, you repeat the process. This is how we use our words to protect our harvest when we are in planting and a growth season. And yes, it takes a long time. It takes longer than maybe you could have conceptualized when your seed was but a thought. I don't know how many times I've been tripped up with an idea, planted the idea, and then didn't really rightly measure the amount of time because I didn't have anything to compare it to. You understand? And got impatient in the growth process and began to speak and began to doubt and began to entertain conversations from other people who want to tell me I should do it this way and no, you should go about doing it this way and no, we can do it this way and let's do it this way. And then before you know it, I have GMO'd my harvest. I have genetically modified it, and now everything is growing crazy or it's not growing at all. The Spirit is telling me to share with you, Divine Feminists, that if you are waiting on your harvest to come in, I don't know what's going on and I don't know who is around you in particular. I don't know who you have in your corner. I don't know who you've shared this with, but it is very important that you be very vigilant on the words that are spoken over your field, whether it be by you or whether it be by another. Don't pervert the seed. Don't kill it before it can bring forth fruit. For your words have power for life and death. And if death is necessary, wisdom is required because you don't want to kill what you actually want to remain living. And you don't want to keep alive what you actually want to die. This is the wisdom of the power of our words. But protection, your words are a protective measure. Whether that protective measure is not speaking at all, or whether that protective measure is being very decisive about what you speak and to whom you speak to. But a harvest is getting ready to come in for you. You have planted your seeds in their proper season, and a harvest is getting ready to come in for you. The Spirit is saying to feel. You have to feel it. You have to feel it throughout your body. You have to feel your harvest, because your feelings about your harvest is what pushes you into the last stage of growth, which is that watering stage. Which is that watering stage. So that your fruit can come forth as they should. This has been Sacred Powers of the Divine Feminine. I am Yolanda Williams. Thank you so much for tapping in. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, family.